Today is a very exciting day.
We finally get to talk about our new 2025 race bikes. It is late December, just after Christmas, and I am very excited because in that box right there is something that, well, is very exciting. So this, my friends, is the brand new Ari Signal Peak.
We got to see this bike for the first time a little less than a year ago when we visited Ari in their Utah offices. It was super cool to see an early prototype of this bike, and it was just really cool to see how excited everyone was about that bike.
It wasn't too long ago that your typical cross-country bike was pretty twitchy and sketchy and just not great outside of a cross-country race course. If this bike even had rear suspension, it was probably only about 80 millimeters, and it certainly didn't have a dropper post or tire inserts because those things were just too heavy. However, over the past decade, the progress in this space has been pretty remarkable. As much as we like to ridicule the term downcountry, the reality is this push by the industry has made cross-country bikes a lot more fun and helped create the ultimate machine for the kind of racing that we love doing, long endurance events with real mountain bike trails. We now have lightweight dropper posts, improved small travel suspension, tire inserts that weigh less than 50 grams, and cross-country tires that are shockingly capable despite still being lightweight and having low rolling resistance. As sponsored athletes, we have had the opportunity to work on this development with multiple of our sponsors, whether that's providing feedback on what we need on the race course or testing early prototypes. Mountain biking is a little different from many other endurance sports in that the equipment truly makes a massive difference in performance. Yes, we always say the rider makes the bike, and I will die on this hill, skills and fitness are important above all else. But the reality is, it is next to impossible to compete at the top level without top level equipment. And the bikes we've gotten to ride over the past few years, well, cross-country bikes are just getting mind-blowingly good. They're light and efficient for climbing, as well as fun and confidence-inspiring on the descents. I rode my cross-country bike more than any other bike this year, and not just because that was the bike I was racing the most, but because it was the most fun on most of the trails that we ride. It's snappy, it's playful, it's just a fantastic bike. So basically what I'm saying is cross-country bikes have gotten really good, and somehow they are just getting better.
What has happened is a lot of the stuff that was designed for enduro bikes and trail bikes is now moving into the cross-country bike sphere. Getting to ride this new Signal, that was what was so clear, is this bike descends so well, but it also pedals really well. It's really light and you get really good power transfer. So what has changed on the new Signal Peak? We are not engineers, obviously, so we figured it would be good to let Spencer, who was a big part of designing the new Signal Peak, explain to you guys what has changed and why it's so cool.
My name is Spencer. I'm an industrial designer at Ari Bicycles. We've put a lot of effort into the newest version of the Signal Peak, and one of our main goals with the new Signal Peak was just modern cross-country. High pedaling efficiency, more off-road capable, lightweight. We focused on all those areas to create a bike that is truly a blast to ride. We made some changes to our suspension kinematics to emphasize and improve our pedaling platform. So you get a lot more efficient pedaling and response from the pedals when you pedal. One of the tricky things was to create a suspension platform that pedals really well, but also gives you the ability to really get rowdy on the trails, and the suspension backs you up. So it's got 110 millimeters of travel, and we worked it so that it has really good small bump sensitivity and a great pedaling platform, but then as you get deeper in the travel, it has great bottom out resistance, so you can really push hard on that bike without ever, feeling like the suspension's holding you back. It just makes every trail really fun to ride.
Haha, yes. All right, so one of the big changes is that, as you can see, there is no pivot back here. So this actually flexes as you go through your travel. And A, makes it lighter because there's not an additional pivot point there. And B, it apparently provides some like nice movement when you're climbing and descending, and it tends to like help it sit right at where you want it to be in terms of sag. This is the one that I will be riding.
Mackie went with the girly bike and I went with the bro bike. But it's so sweet and it's gonna look so good with my gold fork.
Yeah, with the gold highlights on it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's slick. And it's lighter than Mackie's because it doesn't have any paint.
So light. All right, 4.43 pounds or 2.01 kg.
$4.37, 1.98.
We're just gonna pull everything off of our current signals and put them on these ones. Before I start pulling parts off of this bicycle, I want to make sure that I get all of the measurements. When I build the new one, I can just match everything exactly and not have to worry about whether or not things changed. So now I've got my measurements so that when I take apart this bicycle, I can recreate those measurements on this bicycle. We built these bikes up right at the beginning of the year, so we've had a couple of months now on them. We've really put them through their paces, and first impressions these first couple of months are very, very positive.
Super fun, super capable. I feel like it's snappier, more responsive. Just those moments when you really want to like torque up something, like you feel like you can accelerate really well, get excellent power transfer. The ramp up on this bike is delightful. It's just a really fun bike to ride. We've snuck them into a couple of videos. Our video in Phoenix, we were riding at Hawes. I was riding the Signal Peak for all of that.
And then also we raced them for the El Paso Puzzler, which was our first race of the year. And some of you noticed my very cool purple bike and commented about it, but we couldn't actually say anything.
It was purple. It was just like the least stealthy bike in the universe. However, nobody noticed my raw carbon bike.
The fact that it is lighter than the previous Signal, it's noticeable. I mean, it dropped a pretty significant
like half
amount
a pound
of weight.
is legit. Like you notice half a pound in the SC bike.
And then we took it to Red Mesa, where we have done some rides in videos before, and we rode it on Stairway to Hell because we figured that would be a very good test, both uphill and downhill, of this bike, because this is a cross-country bike. Stairway to Hell,
not a cross-country
trail.
Yeah, it's kind of a trials moto trail.
Yeah, and we figured if it could handle that, it could handle anything that we will be throwing at it this year, which will be a lot. So we took it to Red Mesa, rode it up, rode it down.
That will be next week's video. Mackie's about to spoil the plot of next week's video.
It's true.
But it was fun.
This bike climbs so well. Felt very solid, up and over things. It's very responsive. It feels stiff in the back. Like you feel like your power is being transferred from the pedals to the wheels to the bike, and you go.
We raced it at the El Paso Puzzler. We both had amazing races. That course is such a good test of your equipment because it is rugged for 50 miles.
Yeah, there's like a quarter mile of pavement on the entire course.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is like rocky, chunky, mostly single track. There's high speed sections, there's lots of climbing. It really is an excellent test of a bicycle. Like if your bicycle can handle the El Paso Puzzler, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning your climb up Mundy's Gap.
There's a pretty gnarly climb in this. I think the Strava segment is the second aid station to the top of Mundy's Gap. I went 2 minutes faster than last year.
On like a 20-something minute segment. So basically 10% faster.
And that, just to be clear, I was on my 9er Rocket last year because we hadn't gotten our Ari signals. So that is not a comparison from signal to signal. It's a totally different bike.
But still, 10% faster is a significant improvement.
And I felt better too. And I had to stop and fix my hair because my ponytail fell out. So it would have been even faster.
Each year the course changes a little bit. Overall times were slightly slower this year, but both of us ran faster times than last year. So
Mackie made a spreadsheet to determine this in case you were wondering.
I did, it's true.
So we both won the race, which obviously was super confidence inspiring for both the training and the bike, and a really good way to start the season. If you haven't watched that video yet, there will be a linky-dink somewhere. And now we are very soon close to, that was a terrible sentence. We're gonna take these bikes to New Zealand and put them through their paces in a totally different environment, totally different riding style, different continent, different hemisphere
even. We're doing full XTR, 1x12 Shimano XTR drivetrain. XTR 2-piston brakes, so the cross-country XTR brakes. Fox suspension. We've got the 34 float stepcast. Sid's got the super cool gold anniversary edition on hers.
For honest, that's why I wanted the black and gold bike.
I thought it was because raw all the time, save the weight. Fox Float SL shock, super light. We talked about this a certain amount last year. It just rides so well. Transfer SL dropper posts. You'll notice that a lot of the things that we have on these bikes have SL afterwards. That's for super light because it's the lightweight version. And when you have a cross-country bike and you care about how much it weighs because you're trying to go uphill fast, you want
all the way, baby.
as light as you possibly can while making sure that it still rides well, which for us is always important.
For wheels, we will be running the Noble TR35s with the DT Swiss 180 hubs, and of course, bird spokes. For tires, I went with Aspens front and rear for the Puzzler. Probably gonna run a lot of Aspens this year. We'll see. New Zealand, I'm hoping for a mudder, so I get to run a mud tire for the first time in 2 years. I love a mudder.
And then we're running Expedo M-Force 8 pedals, which are their like lightweight cross-country pedals, and Velo saddles, and then Shimano Pro handlebar stem. If you want to check out the brand new Ari Signal Peak 3.0, head to aribikes.com/SidMackey or scan the QR code, and make sure to use the code SidMackey at checkout for a free tubeless upgrade. £24.36 pounds. Ooh, nice. 23.74. 0.6 of a pound lighter. That is exciting, my friends. That is very exciting.